goes Federico. He's skating in all alone on top on the penalty shot. He scores! Federico walked in and scored on the penalty shot.
That was just one of the many thrills during the 1980-81 season. A campaign that will live for a long, long time in the hearts of proud St. Louis Blues fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Kelly, and along with my KMOX radio partner, Gus Kyle, we'll try our best to relive one of the greatest turnarounds in professional sports.
That's right, Dan. It was a barn burner of a season, and the Blues have quickly moved from the brink of bankruptcy into the National Hockey League's upper class.
The Blues became record breakers for 1981, that's for sure. Over 40 individual, team, or NHL records were surpassed during the regular season. And with 45 wins, 18 losses, and 17 ties, the Blues tallied 107 points. That's 19 points more than any other season in their 14-year history. How did it happen? Who were the people responsible? Was this a highly calculated, predictable move? Let's ask Blues president and general manager Emil Francis what his thoughts were going into the season.
We have 3 goals this season: to cut down on our goals against, to win our division, and to capture home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. I think it's reasonable to project an 8th place finish for the club.
So, from the top you have it. No mention of challenging the defending Stanley Cup champions for number 1 overall. And the prestigious sports publication Sports Illustrated painted an even gloomier picture for the Blues to finish out of the playoffs completely. Not one person, media-wise, team-wise, or otherwise, predicted that the St. Louis Blues were about to embark on one of the greatest turnarounds in professional sports. For the first time in 4 years, the Blues opened the regular season at home. It was an appropriate, exciting start for the season as the Blues tangled with the Hartford Whalers in a wild seesaw affair. The record-breaking began that night early with an NHL record of 4 shorthanded goals in the second period.
Larry Patey showed early that he was a definite threat in shorthanded situations.
Passes to Warren Miller. Miller giving it to Keon, who comes to center. Penalized player Douglas is back on. The Whalers have the man advantage again as Crombeen gives it to Patey. Patey on right wing pulls away from Lay. Gets around the next man. He shoots. He scores! Patey! Another shorthanded goal. And it's tied 4-4.
The final was 8-6, and the Blues had their first of 45 wins. The first road trip of the season was a challenging one to the East Coast. There, the Blues played a pair of New York road games. In the first game, October 14th, the Blues made the Stanley Cup champion Islanders fight to the finish in a 5-5 deadlock.
A long-standing Madison Square Garden jinx was broken the next night. It's a good thing the Blues weren't superstitious because the 13 years of frustration had followed the Blues in the Rangers' home building. The long winless record hung over the organization like an albatross. But it was this goal by Perry Turnbull that broke a 1-1 tie and gave the Blues their first bite of the Big Apple in over a decade.
And back comes Turnbull to center. Around the defenseman. Turnbull in and goal. Scores! Turnbull!
The Boston Bruins were next, this time in the friendly confines of the Checker Dome. Wayne Babbitt scored late in the third period to give the Blues victory number 3 in a 3-2 decision. The Montreal Canadiens were the next victims of the Blues hit list. Team captain Brian Sutter was the difference in that game as he tallied to lift St. Louis over Montreal by a score of 4-3.
I asked Brian Sutter if he could sense that the team was going to have a banner year after that big win.
Well, anytime you beat a big team like Montreal and Boston and have the start that we've had, we always expect to do well, and everybody's very optimistic about what's going to happen. Everybody's confident, everybody's working hard, and we're playing together well as a team. We're getting good goaltending, the defense is playing well, everybody's playing well. We're getting good efforts from everybody, so everybody's extremely optimistic about what's going to happen for the rest of the year. We're quite confident we're going to keep winning, and when you win, it's just like snowballing. It just keeps on going. If you lose, it's the same thing. I know it was here when we lost, and it was hard to get back to the winning track. Now we're winning. Now it's hard to lose, and we know we can win, and we're just going to continue to do so.
The month of October still had more thrills to come as the Blues hosted the New York Rangers on the 28th. The Blues led 3-2 when Ron Duguay tied it up. That set the stage for the Blues' Sweetie sensation, already with 2 goals to his credit.
Here are the Blues, 4 against 3 power play in this 3-3 game, and the Blues get the face-off. Braunscheidel at the left point to Norwich. Over to Braunscheidel. Back to Norwich again. To the side of the net to Pedersen. Now to Norwich. To Pedersen. Pedersen fakes the shot. Now moves in. Shoots. Scores! Jorgen Pedersen has the hat trick, and the Blues lead 4-3.
That was the first of 3 hat tricks for Pedersen on the season. Those 3 hat tricks tied an NHL rookie record.
The mark of a winning team is to be able to overcome large deficits, and you must win on the road. The Blues did both in a rousing 5-3 win over Chicago. Trailing the Blackhawks 3-0 in Chicago Stadium, St. Louis fought back. Larry Patey, a premier defensive forward, led the attack with a hat trick featuring 2 shorthanded goals.
Now the Hawks clear at the center. Here's Lysiak into the St. Louis zone on left wing. Centering one. Loose in front, but Brownscheitel breaks it up. Cleared it, but not out. Crossman a shot. That's blocked, and here's a break for Patey on left wing. Into the Hawk zone. Patey moves in, shoots, scores! Patey on a short-handed effort set up by Crombeen, and the Blues are back into this one.
The Blues played better than .500 hockey for the next 2 weeks before hosting the Buffalo Sabres on November 25th. Bill Stewart set up this game winner by Wayne Babych, which set Wayne rolling toward his record-setting 54 goals.
Now St. Louis moving out of there as Bill Stewart on right wing comes to center. Into the Buffalo zone, leaves it for Babych. Babych cuts in, shoots, he scores! Babych!
Another mark of a winning team is to play a full 60 minutes of hockey. The next night in Toronto proved that the Blues just did that. They were tied 4-4 with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there was less than a minute to go. Blair Chapman shocked the generally staid Maple Leaf crowd.
Right wing pass to Chapman, who comes to center. Chapman couldn't get it across the red line. Now Brownscheitel trying to flip it ahead. Sutter is checked, and here's Payma in across the line to Sittler. His shot stopped by Kia, and Sutter breaks away with Federico. 2-on-1 break. Sutter moving in. Sutter trying to center, and it's broken up by Selman. Now Chapman scores! Chapman! Set up by Sutter with 16 seconds left, and the Blues go ahead 5-4.
With the month of November coming to a close, another team record fell as the magician, Bernie Federico, set a new club mark by scoring assists in 10 consecutive games. The high-flying Blues began to rack up points in December, winning 9 of 13 and taking 19 of a possible 26 points. St. Louis was impressive in wins over Minnesota, Boston, Pittsburgh, and Toronto. A couple of individual performances that stood out were a Babych hat trick against the Leafs and 2 clutch goals against Vancouver by Rick Lapointe as he took only 2 shots on goal. And coach Red Berenson cooked up a hot combination when he put together the Donner and Blitzen line of Pedersen, Dunlop, and Babych in Boston.
The fans turned out in record-setting numbers beginning December the 30th against Toronto, and that night marked the first of 12 sellouts for the season. On January the 8th, Wayne Babych scored a goal at 18:56 of the final stanza to launch the Blues into a tie with the Philadelphia Flyers at the Spectrum.
Puck is dropped. Zook gets the draw to Babych. To Turnbull, and a shot deflects wide. Now Zook to the corner. Back to Rick Lapointe. His centering pass knocked down by Dunlop. To Zook to Babych. He scores! Wayne Babych with 1:04 to play. Ties at 5-5 for the Blues.
2 nights later, the Blues hosted the Los Angeles Kings in one of the most exciting home games of the season. Before 19,115 boisterous St. Louis fans, the Blues jumped out in front 4-2 after 1 period. Something else occurred, however, that could have ended the Blues' dreams for the season. Ed Stanowski was seated in the Blues press box nursing a shoulder injury, and the Blues had Mike Liut in goal until a Mike Murphy shot near the end of the period. Liut made the save, but collapsed to the ice, attended to by Blues trainer Tommy Woodcock. He remained in goal until the end of the period, but was not able to return.
That opened the door for rookie Rick Hines. His NHL debut came in the second period, and his first point of business was to stop All-Star Marcel Dionne on a breakaway. That save seemed to inspire the Blues. In the third period, with LA up 5-3, goals by Perry Turnbull and Joe Micheletti tied it. Dionne then gave the Kings a 6-5 lead before Jorgen Pedersen scored this goal with less than 5 minutes left.
Jensen for the Kings into the St. Louis zone. Shoots from a bad angle, and Hines the save. And the Blues, Pedersen starts out of there. Pedersen to center ice. Into the Kings zone on left wing. Pedersen shoots it. They score! Jorgen Pedersen that I think deflected in off the Kings defenseman.
I think it did, Dan. He'll get credit for the goal if that's the situation. It comes at 15 minutes and 23 seconds, 4:37 remaining, and it's tied again, this time to the tune of 6-6.
Another come-from-behind performance occurred January 22nd. The Blues scored 2 goals in the last minute and a half of the game to salvage a 6-6 tie with Hartford.
Blues have it again. Here's Sutter on right wing. Sutter shoots. Garrett the save. And the Whalers' Blaine Stoughton has it along the right wing boards. Chapman tying him up. Now held in by Lapointe to Paderco, who deflects it wide. Here's Paderco to Sutter. Sutter in front. Sutter takes his time. Shoots. Scores! Sutter just rolling it in underneath the goaltender. Garrett, 6 attackers. Paderco gets it to Dunlop. To Babich. Shoots. He scores! Babich! And with 6 attackers and a man advantage, the Blues tie at 6-6 with 23 seconds left.
Meanwhile, the Blues ran through a streak of 10 home games without a loss, only to be foiled on January 31st before the third largest crowd in Blues history, 19,468. The Philadelphia Flyers squeaked past the Blues that night, 3-2. But the Blues were only reaching their peak during the month of February, losing only once in 14 games. The month began with the return of sensational goaltender Mike Liut.
With Liut playing steady goal, the Blues showed great offensive punch as well. February the 5th will be a date remembered by Perry Turnbull, as he became only the second player in Blues history to score more than 3 goals in one game.
Here are the Leafs from the face-off. Juris in the corner. Tries to make a play to Martin, held in by Kia. Now Mike Zook for St. Louis. Sanders one. Here's Turnbull. Shoots. Zero the save. Rebound. He scores! Perry Turnbull gets the hat trick. And the Blues take a 6-2 lead. Brownscheitel at his own line to Mike Zook. At center to Paderco. Paderco for the Blues into the Leaf zone. Here's Paderco leaving it for Turnbull. Shoots. Scores! Perry Turnbull gets his 4th of the night. And the Blues have a 7-3 lead.
We asked Perry if he's ever had such a big thrill in any other hockey game.
Well, I'm really happy tonight, Gus. Everything just seemed to go pretty well tonight. The guys I played with were outstanding. They just seemed to move the puck, and I happened to be in the right spot tonight, and finally the puck went in for me. It's a big thrill. I've never scored more than 2 goals in an NHL game before, and I'm really happy with it. I don't think that things will really sink in for the next couple days about just what's happened here tonight, but I'm excited.
February 10th marked the All-Star game in Los Angeles. The Blues were represented by Wayne Babich, Bernie Paderco, and Mike Liut. Paderco set up Babich for a goal, and Liut delivered 32 minutes of flawless goaltending, stopping 25 shots to send the Campbell Conference All-Stars to a 4-1 win. Liut was named the game's most valuable player. The bright and articulate Blues goaltender said,
I don't think there was anything special about the number of shots I stopped, but there was something special about the talented players who were taking those shots. To be named the MVP in an All-Star game is a special honor. I had great support from my defense in clearing rebounds and preventing the second chance.
And Bernie Paderco talked of the Blues becoming a real bona fide first-place contender.
I think it's every night there's 19 guys that go out there on the ice and just give 110%. And when you give an effort like that, I don't think that there's anything that we can do wrong. Everybody wants to win so bad. Everybody knows that what first place means, and the guys just don't want to give up.
The All-Star break didn't cool the Red Hot Blues. They advanced to a first-place tie in the overall NHL standings by virtue of ties with the Montreal Canadiens and the co-leading New York Islanders.
On February the 15th, the Blues traveled cross town to meet the Rangers. A victory will put the Blues in sole possession of first place. Brian Sutter's goal gave the Blues an insurmountable 3-goal lead.
Now the Blues, Chapman intercepting to Bill Stewart. Stewart trying to go around Laidlaw, does, into the Ranger zone. Centers to Sutter. Sutter right in, shoots, scores! Sutter! And it's 3-0 for the Blues.
That capped off a thrilling weekend and shot the Blues to the top of the NHL standings. Coach Red Berenson couldn't help but throw the needle into the New York writers, who constantly berated the Blues until now.
This really feels good. We've worked hard and sacrificed much, but we've surprised all the experts of hockey. I don't know how long we'll stay on top, but it feels good right now. It's been a fantastic weekend.
The Blues continued to be hot and spent the latter part of February and early weeks of March breaking records and winning hockey games. A few of the records that fell were most goals by the team for one season, most assists by the team for one season. They racked up the most points by the club in one season. They established the most wins in one season. Most goals by one player, Wayne Babbage, in one season. Jorgen Pettersson broke the rookie scoring record, and all these records were set by February the 28th.
On March the 7th, the Blues clinched the Smythe Division title with a win over the Rangers, setting their sights on the overall championship. March 12th, the Blues dropped a 4-3 decision at Montreal, but Wayne Babbage reached a new St. Louis hockey milestone.
Stewart for St. Louis on left wing to Pettersson. Right wing pass to Babbage. He breaks in. Babbage hit on goal, shoots. He scores! Babbage gets his 50th of the year. Cuts the Montreal lead to 4-2. And Wayne Babbage is the first Blues scorer in history to score 50 goals.
More records fell in early March. Most home points, most home wins, fewest losses, most power play goals, most 20-goal scorers, most 30-goal scorers, most assists, and more. The real showdown for first place in the overall standings, though, came at the Checker Dome on March 24th against the second-place New York Islanders. St. Louis held a 3-point lead going into the game, and it was generally felt that the winner of this game would win the regular season title.
A sellout crowd saw the Blues build a 3-2 lead going into the third period, but Bob Bourne scored a shorthanded goal for New York, and then Dwayne Sutter put the game on ice for the Islanders.
Jerry Hart back of his own goal, left it there. Here's Goring intercepting one. Goring centered it. Now it comes back to Goring. DeMoro at the point. Back to Goring. DeMoro at the right point. Shoots. Jerry Hart blocks the shot. Now Morrow again with a shot that deflects wide. Here's Dennis Potvin. Into the corner for Dwayne Sutter. Trying to center one. Now Goring back to the goal. Out in front, a shot. Blocked. Then shot wide by Sutter. They score! Dwayne Sutter got his own rebound. And the Islanders take the lead at 4-3 with 3:42 to play.
That was a big 4-point game as the Blues saw their lead dwindle to one slim point rather than boosting it to 5. New York had a full head of steam and lost only once more in their last 5 games. The Blues, on the other hand, seemed to suffer a letdown after that game and dropped 2 key decisions to Minnesota North Stars in the final week. The end result after the 1980-81 season was the New York Islanders 110 points and the St. Louis Blues finishing second out of 21 teams with a total of 107 points. Who would have believed that last October?
But the Blues weren't finished with their thrill-a-minute show. The Stanley Cup playoffs and one of the most memorable series in Blues history were still to come. The Pittsburgh Penguins, the league's 15th place team, saved their best performance for the playoffs against the Blues. The fireworks began before the first puck was dropped as Penguin coach Eddie Johnston and Blues goalie Mike Liut engaged in a battle of words concerning a fatal flaw Johnson said he found in Liut's goaltending style.
The teams traded victories at both the Checker Dome and the Civic Center in Pittsburgh, and the series came back to St. Louis for a 5th and final game. 18,150 fans witnessed a masterpiece on ice. Paul Gardner gave Pittsburgh the lead on a first-period power play goal. The Blues pressed, but couldn't get anything behind the brilliant goaltending of Greg Millen. Finally, Brian Sutter tied it at 11:17 of the second period. The Penguins came back on a goal by George Ferguson, but Bernie Federico tied it with just 1 minute after that to square the score at 2.
As the fans settled down in their seats for perhaps the final period of the year, Rick LaPointe gave St. Louis the lead with this goal early in the third period.
Here's Chapman, a shot from the faceoff that went wide. Now Rick LaPointe scores! LaPointe! And the Blues take the lead!
The Blues couldn't hold the lead, however, and Greg Malone tied it for Pittsburgh.
Here's Malone trying to clear one. Now to Baxter. Baxter to center ice. With shot on a 2-on-1 break. And Kia slides across to break it up. Now it's centered. A shot. Liut skate save. They score! Malone on the rebound. After Liut had made a skate save, Malone got the rebound and ties it.
That's the way it ended in regulation time, tied 3-3. In an intensely played, wide-open 20 minutes, neither team scored, but both had excellent scoring opportunities. Late in the first overtime, Liut, as he had done all year long, made this key save.
Big face-off to the left of the Blues goal. Gardner gets it, tries to center one. Liut clears it out on the right wing boards to Curry. Back comes Curry to Paderco. Paderco to center. He's checked by Carlisle. And Carlisle comes back for Pittsburgh. Across the line to Kehoe, to Johnson, in on goal. Liut the save. Center, and then Gardner shot it wide. Oh, Johnson was robbed by Liut.
Both teams fired 13 shots on goal in the first overtime, but neither team could find the back of the net. It was hard to swallow as the midnight bell tolled in St. Louis. Someone had to lose, and for them, the season would be over.
It turned out that a man had only played 4 shifts during the entire game because of a slight illness, would send the St. Louis Blues into the quarterfinal round. That man was Mike Crombeen.
Now Zook wins the face-off to Micheletti over to LaPointe. LaPointe in across the line in the Pittsburgh zone. He tries to center one. Zook gets it back to the goal in front to Crombeen. He scores! Mike Crombeen! And the Blues win the series! Mike Crombeen has just scored for St. Louis.
Crombeen's name will be etched alongside other Blues overtime heroes, Ron Schock and Kevin O'Shea. It was a great series, but it seemed to take the gas out of the Blues' attack. Just 2 nights later, the Blues were forced to forget about the Penguins and focus their attention on the New York Rangers. The adrenaline must have still been pumping for the Blues as they routed the Rangers in an easy 6-3 opening night triumph. That's when fatigue appeared to set in. The Rangers took the home ice advantage away from the Blues by winning Game 2 at the Checker Dome, and then Games 3 and 4 in New York. The Blues returned to St. Louis with their backs to the wall. They rose to the occasion, as they had all year long, and won at the Checker Dome, forcing the series into a 6th game at Madison Square Garden.
Dan, the deficit was a bit too much for the Blues. The Rangers closed out the series and the season for St. Louis in that 6th game. Nevertheless, it was a tremendous year for the Blues, and the fans heard a thrill a minute on KMOX radio.
A franchise that was moored on shaky foundation 3 years ago has climbed to the top under the patient guidance of Emil Francis, the NHL Executive of the Year. Red Berenson was named Coach of the Year. Blake Dunlop won the Masterton Award for dedication to hockey. And Ed Kia captured the Conacher Trophy for outstanding community service. Mike Liut was defeated by Wayne Gretzky in the league's closest race for the Hart Trophy as the most valuable player, but Liut was selected as the first All-Star goalie. The season was a remarkable one, right from the thrilling 8-6 season opener over Hartford to the 7-4 loss to the Rangers in the final playoff game. In between, you have it all. It was indeed a season of records.
The Checker Dome has exploded.